Marvel movies, Disney Plus, Martin Scorsese versus Marvel movies.
Yeah.
What's the deal with this guy?
Well, at first he just was giving his opinion. I was like, yeah, I don't agree with it, but
He's like, I've never seen these movies, but they're theme parks.
Yeah, so
theme park movies or whatever.
What did he do? He likened Disney or specifically Marvel. No, I think he said comic book films in general. He likened them to a theme park ride. He said he said they're not cinema.
You know what? To some degree, I agree with him. Like, to some degree.
What's the degree?
Some of them are just a great thrill ride. You know how you used to see a movie trailer and it would be like, or a TV ad and it would be described as like a thrill ride? It's like, hell yeah, I want to be thrilled while I watch this movie. This is going to be sweet.
So how is that not cinema, though?
I get it, but at the same time,
So if it's not Casino or Goodfellas or The Godfather, it's not cinema? You know what I mean? If it's...
I know.
I can't enjoy it.
I need to hear his definition of cinema, because, it's playing in a theater. It's a cinematic movie. He came out
and said, theaters need to step up, and they need to show more movies,
so
less... big stuff.
You know how people talk about like video games or video games as art kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like kind of the same argument to a degree.
Yeah, what is art? And he doesn't think that's art.
And it's like, think about his movie that's coming out. That's going to look like a freaking cartoon.
But look,
is that cinema or is it a cartoon? Is it a de-aged candy, visual candy? Like, it's at what point is it cinema?
I also think that he's kind of an idiot, because he made that statement.
It was a stupid statement to make.
But then he went on to say, I haven't really seen the films. Mm-hmm. What kind of jackass is making an opinion on something he hasn't seen? It's not very fair to the creators of the film. And we've talked about in length how they are kind of like our modern mythology. And there's a lot of really good themes in there, a lot of good symbols and things that are very sticky, that stick with you. Yeah. And I think that, what? And I all I'm saying is that to just hand wave and say they're not cinema, I think it's a little misguided.
A pot shot without saying anything at what's big right now is a little misguided.
Roger Ebert, he was slamming video games for the whole our video games art thing when that was a big conversation piece. Like, pretty much nowadays, people have said, okay, we get it. Video games can be like a cinematic experience. They can be an artistic, expression.
More so now than ever, because they treat them like films.
But back in like the 90s, I think he said something about video games. I don't remember exactly what it was, and pissed off like everybody. So it feels really similar to this Martin Scorsese talking about, what is cinema, Marvel is not.
Yeah, well, I don't know that if that was his take, that it's really bared out, because I think now more than ever we could see that video games are like film, they're cinema and they're art. Like, they hire full on. When you see the production crews that are involved and the writers and they're fleshing out whole universes that people then devote hours and hours and hours of their life towards. And so to say that it's not art is ridiculous.
And at the time, maybe like Duke Nukem 3D was really popular, I don't remember.
Right. Yeah. What awesome lame game was he talking about? Yeah. Here's something for you guys. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I know you both are big Kevin Smith fans. So a lot of actors, a lot of directors, all related to the superhero universe, have kind of come forward and, defended the work that they've done. James Gunn, Joss Whedon, Robert Downey Jr., Paul Rudd, they've all kind of come forward and had their piece. But what Kevin Smith said, I thought was really, really cool, because it wasn't like, what? Like some people, it was really kind of well thought out. He had this piece.
Let's hear his take.
He said, it's kind of a long quote, so I'll try to bust through it.
That was okay.
He said, for my money, I think Martin Scorsese made the biggest superhero movie ever, which was The Last Temptation of Christ. You don't get much bigger of a superhero than Jesus. And then he continued, he goes, my feeling is Martin Scorsese never sat in a movie theater with his dad and watched the movies of Steven Spielberg in the 80s or George Lucas in the late 70s. He didn't get to feel that sense of magic and wonder. He's like, I can still step into one of those comic book movies, divorce myself of the fact that I do this for a living, release, and my dead dad is back for a minute or 2 hours. And it's personal for the lot, and it's personal for a lot of the audience. And, we're not arguing whether or not it counts as cinema. He goes, they come from a core, a happy childhood. They reflect on childhood.
Yes.
Their nostalgia. And I think to kind of take a shot like that at people who have dedicated a lot. I mean, yeah, they phone in Marvel movies all the time. Dark Phoenix exists. That's
Yes.
not great cinema. It's still cinema. Just because it's something that you don't like and you're not a part of doesn't mean that your elitist old school mentality is the only thing that's cinema.
Do you think he'd take that same take with like The Dark Knight?
Well, he produced Joker.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they were always trying to say that he was going to direct it, but he's like a consultant or something.
Probably
right?
just dug the idea of the homage, Like,
so he must be
it's because
strictly
Joker's
talking
basically
about
the
Marvel.
two of his movies, the Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. So those two movies are straight up the Joker. Like,
so I think he was initially a producer. I don't think he necessarily produced the film. Let me correct that. But I think, again, and again, you know what? This is a little bit suspect, and I think it's a little bit conspiracy theorist. But he hasn't said a word about comic book movies in the however long. I mean, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man came out in 2003, 2000? I don't even know. And all of a sudden, Martin Scorsese, right before the release
Joker.
of this huge movie that theaters don't want any part of because it's only on Netflix and all this other crap, and suddenly he's like, superhero movies are dumb. And everyone's like, what? Martin Scorsese's saying
guys.
something. And he goes, The Irishman. And all of a sudden, he's generating all this buzz. There's no such thing as bad press, right?
Well,
maybe not so true anymore. Look at, Louis C.K. trying to dig himself back. I only use Louis C.K. for you, man.
I love that guy.
But you know what I
funny.
mean? Like, I think a little bit of it, like, I think you take a pot shot at the biggest kid on the park when you want a little attention.
I could see that angle.
And is Martin Scorsese one of the greatest directors of all time?
Yes.
Is everything he's done except Hugo pretty good cinema? Yeah. But he made Hugo. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me you don't. I mean, and you watch Hugo, and I feel like even that, he's so disconnected from what can be happy and magical that, like,
Dude.
you watch Hugo, and you're like, dude, what the
Not like this.